So, in case you missed it, something kind of wild just happened. The Hearing Protection Act, the bill that would finally remove suppressors from the NFA and treat them like regular firearms, was included in what's being called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Well, this monster bill is basically a Republican legislative buffet. It's got tax cuts, border security, spending cuts, and somehow, bless their tactical little hearts, the Hearing Protection Act. And guess what? It passed the House. That means this thing is officially on its way to the Senate. Now, I've been talking about the Hearing Protection Act for years. I've done range videos with suppressors, legal breakdowns, and even tried explaining to the anti-gun crowd that suppressors don't make your AR sound like a kitten sneezing into a pillow. They make shooting safer, especially for your hearing, which for a bill literally called the Hearing Protection Act kind of makes sense. But here's where things get messy. In the Senate, there's this rule created by Senator Robert Byrd in the 1980s called the Byrd Rule. And it basically says if you're trying to pass a bill through budget reconciliation, which lets you get around the filibuster and pass with just a 51 vote instead of the 60 votes, every part of that bill has to directly impact spending or revenue. So here's the problem. While eliminating the $200 tax stamp on suppressors clearly affects revenue, the part about removing suppressors from the NFA, that could be labeled a policy change, not a budget issue, which means under the Byrd Rule, the Senate could strike it from the bill. And since this bill is moving through reconciliation, we can't afford to have any part flagged as non-budgetary. Now, I'm convinced that when this thing gets to the Senate, they're going to try to say that removing suppressors from the NFA isn't about budget. It's a policy issue. Except y'all made the NFA a budget concern when you stuck a $200 tax and the use of government resources to process Form 4s to acquire suppressors. Removing the blatant tax does nothing about the absolute onslaught of people who will now be buying suppressors and the extra agents and other resources you're going to have to spend money to hire to keep up with the massive amount of Form 4 submissions that will come in after dropping the overt tax to zero or something nominal. A company's biggest expense is their employees. So this is not only a revenue issue, it's an expense issue. One where the expense will severely outweigh any potential revenue loss. So the public and the government both have an economic incentive to remove suppressors from the NFA. In short, the Hearing Protection Act is a targeted tax repeal, a legit budgetary change. When you remove it from the NFA, you're not only eliminating the $200 tax, you're removing all the expenses associated with having to process the over hundreds of thousands of suppressors that people are going to buy in addition to the hundreds of thousands of suppressors they were already buying on an annual basis. So it's a win-win for everyone in that regard. Y'all save money, we save money, and we get to protect our hearing. So yeah, it cleared the House. Now it's on its way to the Senate, where it's about to get judged by a rule that was never meant to gatekeep common sense. So if you care about this, now is the time to get loud, ironically, so we can protect our hearing. Call your senators, share this video, and if you've ever waited a year to buy a tube of metal that protects your ears, you already know what's at stake. One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.